And welcome into the Believe It Ole Miss podcast. I've got one of my good friends on the show today talking about Arkansas football. Does wonderful work at ESPN Arkansas, hitthatline.com. He and his co-host Tommy Kraft do a wonderful job every single day. I've listened to every episode this week. Get me ready for Ole Miss in Arkansas. You played golf in Oxford. Are you moving to Oxford?
Man, not just yet, but I love coming here. This is the third time I've been here. Any SEC town the weekend of a big-time game is always fun. Had the opportunity, like you said, to play Country Club of Oxford. Tallahatchie Gourmet was really good. This is very much a southern city that I enjoy visiting, and hopefully I'll be a happy camper as of tomorrow night, but that remains to be seen. Arkansas hadn't won here since 2017 and might have to be left wanting after tomorrow. We'll find out.
The line has plummeted all the way to 6.5. I know you took Ole Miss. Tommy took. I'm done. You took Arkansas. Tommy took Ole Miss. Surprised that line has dropped this far.
You know, I knew it would drop in favor of Arkansas, but 3.5 points. Like for example, Brad, it was at 9.5 when I got it first thing on Sunday or Monday, whatever it was. I'm like, Ole Miss is not going to win this game by 10 points. Now they might win by 3. They might win by 7. There's no way they win this game by 10. So I bet on Arkansas to cover. Do I think they're going to win? No. I've said it all week. I want to pick Arkansas, but I just can't do it yet. But I think this is going to be a tightly game. But to your point, yeah, 3.5 points, like especially for the road team, that seems like something's going on, Brad.
This feels like to me, and this is going to be a little unconventional. This is more of a conversation with my friend Tye than the normal interview. I think the key for Arkansas, just watching the first 2 games and watching them a lot last year, Taylor Green, I get it. He's kind of the offense runs to and through him. Having an additional year with Bobby Petrino is big. I think if Carmona, Branham, Kilter, and the rest of the guys can keep him upright, give him a pocket, if he gets the pocket, sees the field, can run the football, I think that's the key for victory for me, for Arkansas. I mean, I know defense, and I get that. But if that offensive line can keep that defensive front off him, I think it could be danger zone for Ole Miss.
Oh, I think so too. And you think about just who Ole Miss lost on that defensive line with Nolan and Umali, and I know his little brother's still here. And give Lane Kiffin credit because he has done a fantastic job reloading. But I think you, Brad, and others would say that Ole Miss doesn't have the same stalwarts on the defensive line that they had last year, which was what the late Monty Kiffin told Lane. He's like, we got to get this thing right. They did. That's why they beat Georgia last season. But I think for Talon, like you said, I mean, Talon Brad has not had a signature SEC moment in Arkansas.
I heard you say that.
Yeah, he beat Mississippi State and Auburn, but they weren't any good last year. I know that's a road win. I know it's a big deal because it's hard to win anywhere in the SEC. But he got it taken away in the Tennessee game because that cheap shot. This is it. And if I'm Taylor Green and I look how this series has gone and I look at what happened last year when he was injured, it's like, man, not only am I ticked off for the defense, but man, this could be my coming out party. So couldn't agree more. But Pete Golding, listen, we don't necessarily mention Pete Golding as much as we should when we talk SEC defensive coordinators. He's really, really good. So I would guess he's going to have some new looks and blitz packages in store for Talon that obviously he has not seen yet.
Transfer Omega Blake, the wide receiver, to me, just jumps off the page. I mean, I think he could be a problem for Ole Miss. You know, Ole Miss has had some issues at secondary. They had issues at left secondary or left cornerback last week against Kentucky, getting burned a couple of times. I mean, Calzada he's a horrible quarterback, but he did make a couple of decent throws down the field. And Nick Cole got burned. I think you can't do that against Omega Blake, and I think it's a much better quarterback. Am I overselling Blake, or what are your thoughts on him?
No, I don't think so. Brad, before the season, I thought it was clear. I mean, this is the best wide receiver on your team, which is wild to say. I know he started his career at South Carolina, but it was at Charlotte. And he comes in, and I'm just like, this is the guy. It's not close. You hear about what's said in practice about him. If you watched any of them, I mean, he's elusive. He's got that like 6'2", 6'3" frame to him, so he's built like a good SEC wide receiver, and he's made plays. Now, it's one thing to make plays against Alabama A&M and Arkansas State. Can you do that under the lights in Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford, Mississippi, when you got, regardless how good the SEC quarterbacks are, they're still SEC quarterbacks jamming you at the line of scrimmage. So I think for Omega Blake, this could be a tandem that people really like to watch if they're an Arkansas fan. Kind of like, I don't know if it'll rise to that Armstrong Green level from last year, but he's definitely Taylor's number one target.
Who else is he going to throw to?
Rohan Jones. Tight end had a long touchdown last week, another long catch. You've got the Luke Has dynamic, obviously, which according to the SEC report, right, he's playing. Unless something changes before the game, he's not on there. So that leads me to believe that he's playing, unless we see it on Saturday. So I think for Taylor Green, the theme here, back to Omega Blake, you can't hone in on it, you can't lock in on it, and he has it through the first two games. But this is an SEC defense on the road. I think Rohan Jones. You got C.J. Brown, Jaylen Brown, and some others, but look for the tight end position to be impactful for both teams, especially with Luke Has seemingly coming back for this game.
Speaking of, how good was he at Arkansas? I remember, you and I were at the Liberty Bowl. From what I remember, he had a couple of big catches in the Liberty Bowl. How good is he?
So Luke Steele, true freshman, comes in. I'm trying to remember this timeline right. True freshman comes in, blows the doors off. Game 2 against LSU. I think he had 2 long touchdowns, and I want to say he gets injured. I can't remember if it was in Oxford or if it was in the Dallas game against A&M. Regardless, he finishes as a freshman All-American. He only played, I think, 4 or 5 games. Sophomore season, last year, first one under Bobby Petrino. His back's an issue, obviously dealing with whatever he's been dealing with in the offseason. It's an ankle, right? Or am I making that up? Yeah.
No, it's lower body, yeah.
Okay. And so he's had injury and durability issues, but, I mean, he's a really intelligent, good pass catcher. He's got good hands. And Lane Kiffin has always had really good use of his tight ends, I feel like. So if he's healthy, he's going to be a huge asset for Ole Miss. Brad, through 2 seasons, he hasn't been that. So I don't wish any ill will on the guy like some other Arkansas fans, but I would guess this game means a lot to him because this sure heck means a lot to all the Arkansas players lining up against potentially Jalen Braxton, Luke, and Patrick Kudus tomorrow.
I don't think just by listening to Lane and kind of reading the room, as many transfers they have coming and going, I feel like if there's any animosity at all, it might be on Arkansas's end. I don't think it's going to be a lot on Ole Miss's end. What do you think about that?
100%. I heard Lane saying the same thing you addressed this week, whether it's the teleconference or Monday at his press conference. He's like, we had 3 guys on Georgia State. I don't really care. But Arkansas, whether Pittman wants to say it, the players, and maybe it's out of sight, out of mind for Pittman. He's got so many things on his plate. But I think it's personal that you referenced Fernando Carmona Jr. He's talked about it in the offseason. Like, he's ready to go. Now, him and Kudus obviously aren't lining up, but there's some animosity there. And will that be the difference between an Arkansas win or loss? I don't think so. But I do think it's personal for some Arkansas guys. I mean, Jalen Braxton was their highest-rated recruit 2.5 years ago. Luke Has was up there as well. I think he was second only to Jalen. And then Kudus is a guy that's been on record saying he was raised not to like Ole Miss or whatever it was. I'm paraphrasing on that podcast. So either way, this is great though, Brad. This is what makes college football and other sports fun is when players and coaches don't like each other. Like I get so sick and tired of hearing the same coach speak, and I get it. You don't want bulletin board material and whatnot, but when a kid or a player or coach is actually willing to speak his mind, to me that's awesome. I don't know how you feel.
I love it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I did a junior college game. Junior colleges are really big in Mississippi, and we had East Mississippi Community College's, Last Chance U, and they were a little down coming into the game against number 4 Northwest Community College, and nice crowd. And opening kickoff, it wasn't a fight, but I mean, it was back and forth, and yeah, it was fun to watch. I mean, I didn't want anybody to fight and get ejected or anything, but I like seeing people that are excited about doing something. And in this case, it's playing football. You and I aren't going to cure cancer. We're not real estate agents that are shaking the world up. We're not tax attorneys. We just like to talk about college football. And so what gets us going is football on the field. And yeah, I like it too. And so I want to stay there with Kudus, whatever, for just a moment. I don't know. I mean, you keep your ear to the ground. You see social media and that sort of thing. I don't know how deep into Ole Miss football you've been watching. He has
Yeah.
not been getting very rave reviews. In fact, he kept Ole Miss from scoring a touchdown single-handedly by a holding foul in Kentucky. I haven't been that. I've actually caught some strays because I haven't been near as hard on the offensive line as others have. And in fact, with him, I thought he played much better in the second half. But the first game, and look, he didn't play hardly at all in preseason camp because he had a black jersey on. I don't know if it was injury or just not wanting him to get hurt. How good was he at Arkansas? I mean, I've heard kind of mixed reviews. It's kind of one of those things if your girlfriend goes with another guy, I didn't really like her anyway. Is it one of those things, or is it, he's okay? Everybody was upset. Was it more they were upset he left because he said he hated Ole Miss, or he left because he was good?
I think it's a combination of a couple things that some of which you mentioned. So you didn't just leave. You left to a school that's 6.5 hours that you were division rivals with for 30 plus years. You left to a school
Yeah.
yeah, that he was on record about saying he didn't like. He was okay. And I don't pretend to be an offensive line guru. I'm not Sam Pittman.
I'm not.
Yeah, he started, I think, at right tackle, moved in on the inside. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what Kiffin has him at. Is he a tackle?
Right guard.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so he's a big, strong kid. It's just you were hoping for more. I think that's a fair way to put it. Playing on the offensive line in the SEC is brutal. I mean, you're going up against NFL D linemen week in, week out. But as you said, it wasn't just Kentucky last week. It was the week before against Georgia State. Now, he's got to obviously get used to Kiffin's offense and his teammates and everything else. I mean, I can see him playing out of his mind tomorrow just because he's going up against a former team. It goes two ways, I feel like. When you play your former team, you either play the best game of your life or you play the worst game of your life. So I would think he's going to have an impact on on the quarterback position tomorrow for Ole Miss just because of kind of where he is.
After the Liberty Bowl, there was a lot of talk that Braylon Russell was going to transfer, enter the portal, and that sort of thing. Did he actually enter the portal?
Man, Brad, it was reported he entered not once but multiple times.
Okay.
And the destination was thought to be in Oxford, and like he's a Benton, Arkansas kid, which is 20 minutes from War Memorial Stadium at Little Rock. And listen, it hurt with Kudus, it hurt with Braxton, it hurt with Haz. But if you plucked if Kiffin managed to pluck a fourth guy away from Arkansas and Sam Pittman, I mean, you're just basically what you're doing is you're the CFL for the NFL if you're Arkansas and Ole Miss. And Kiffin, again, he is an unbelievable recruiter out of the portal. I kind of listened to him this week talk about like some things are beneficial for college football, some are for Ole Miss. 2 portal periods are beneficial for Ole Miss because that gives him another opportunity to go get a D1 SEC quality type of player. For college football, it's not. And he basically said that. I'm paraphrasing, but that's at least how I understood what he talked about this week. So to your initial question, yes, I don't have access. I don't have a code to get in the transfer portal, but it was reported pretty widely. It wasn't just once, but it was multiple times.
Okay. Knock on wood. Braylon Russell may run for 225 yards and 4 touchdowns tomorrow. Only way I know how to ask, is he any good? I mean, he looks like I don't know. From what I've seen the last couple of games, it's been Mike Washington Jr. that looks the best running back to me. Russell looks, he looks like he's done the last couple of years. He's big, he's strong, but I just don't know.
I don't know if he's like an every down back with the speed, which he doesn't have, in my opinion, that SEC type of speed. Mike Washington has it.
Yeah.
Mike's going to be pivotal. I mean, you got 2 of the best running backs. I don't know if it'll necessarily live up to that Rocket Sanders, Quinshon Judkins duel back in 2022, but this is going to be fun watching Washington Bloom, Kawan Lacey. I think it's leading the SEC in rushing right now. So. And Ole Miss is trying to get back in the ground and pound because that was what Kiffin was kind of disappointed in last year versus what else they were doing. But Russell's not their A1 guy, Brad. Rodney Hill comes in as well to spell Washington. Russell's going to be more utilized as a goal line guy. He had a good game, breakout fourth quarter against Tennessee, really good game against Mississippi State. He's also a sophomore. Like, he's got another year, but I don't know if it'll necessarily be that alpha A1 SEC running back that Arkansas has had over previous years.
Let's switch over to defense real quick. Other than Cam Ball entering his 25th year as an Arkansas Razorback, I don't know just a whole lot about the defense.
Yep.
I remember Keyshawn Blackstock. That was another name that I saw that I remembered from last year. What are your early thoughts going into the game after what they did the first couple games?
Let's start with him. So he was on the offensive line, was going to be a backup offensive lineman. Their defensive line depth is not good, Brad. Quincy Rhodes Jr. is questionable. David Oakey's questionable. Those are two important guys. Quincy's probably their best defensive lineman. David is one of their better ones on the interior. Cam Ball has been there a long time. It's wild to see fifth-year seniors stay at one school, and that's exactly what he's done, which is great. He's such a likable kid, too. That's the issue. They've got Xavier Sorey and Steven Dix, which are a good tandem duo SEC linebacker group. They're back in. Still some questions, and that's what Pittman's like. It's like they're going to get tested. They haven't been tested in 2 weeks. Alabama A&M and Arkansas State aren't going to test you. Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss offense is going to test you. So I think there's you've allowed 2 defensive touchdowns through 2 weeks. The other one was a kickoff return. There's some cautious optimism, but this is the week that Arkansas finds out what kind of football team we have. Kind of like in Stillwater the year before, which found out similar team. They can't get it done the fourth quarter for the most part because Ole Miss has already got an SEC action. Now, I don't know how you feel about Kentucky. I think they might be the worst team in the SEC, especially after Mississippi State's win against Arkansas or Arizona State. So you have all these notions about Arkansas football, whether offensively or defensively, but they haven't played anyone. So you have to compartmentalize that and realize they're going up against an actual football team tomorrow night, a football team that has been really successful these last 3 or 4 years, and a team, frankly, you as an Arkansas fan feel like you should be up to standards-wise, and you haven't. So to your initial question, I'm long-winded here, but I just don't know about defensively. T-Wolf, they got embarrassed last year. There has to be somewhat of a vendetta if you're on that defensive staff. But listen, Lane Kiffin, I'll reference, so back in 2014 when he's the Alabama offensive coordinator, Rob Smith, defensive coordinator, held them to like 15 points or 14 points. Like, their offense was awful that night. And that's a credit to Rob Smith. Next year, they hung like 49 on him. So it was it's one of those situations. Maybe it was 2 years later. Kiffin has done a really good job. If you can't figure it out, like Barry Odom's team back in 2020, the next year or the year after, he rips you up. And he ripped him up last year. We'll see if he does something similar this year.
Yeah, that's one thing that you said that I thought really nobody else is talking about. Lane put the hammer down last year, and I haven't used the E word, which is embarrassed, but they kind of did. And
they did.
You were the one that said it, and I hadn't really thought about it, but they kind of did.
It's an ego. So, and I don't blame them. I mean, 63-31.
Yeah.
You got Austin Simmons in the fourth quarter, airing it out, which is fine. My whole stance on this, it's the soft generation. Well, you shouldn't win by more than 20 or whatever. Since when? Like, if you can't, and this is coming from an Arkansas guy, that like it's Sam Pittman and Travis Williams and that unit's job to stop Lane Kiffin. And they put in their second guys. Who cares if they're throwing it? You can't stop their second team. Now, that was one of the best. That Jordan Watkins, Jackson Dart combo that day was one of the most on chemistry performances I have ever seen. They were in sync, unlike they've ever been in their college careers together. But yeah, they got embarrassed. It was a gut check, and we'll see if anyone has any pride from that team headed into tomorrow night.
Hey, there are two players, and this is, if you don't know, I get it. They're young, but they're two players that Ole Miss went hard after in recruiting, and Arkansas beat Ole Miss out. Kevin Otis, a Mississippi player, a defensive lineman, and then a defensive end, Charlie Collins. Either one of those players seeing any kind of playing time at all? I know Ole Miss really went really deep. At least they went really deep with Collins. He kind of stiffed them in the end.
Yeah, I remember. So Charlie, kid from kind of central Arkansas area, I think he's either a redshirt freshman or a true sophomore.
Okay.
He's definitely going to be called upon, and more action has been early on. And then also Otis. I remember being like, man, you got him over Mississippi State and Ole Miss. That was a big hit. They're just so young on the defensive line, Brad. That's an area that I wish they would have bolstered a little more in the offseason. Maybe there's an injury or two they didn't anticipate. But, yeah, you will see them tomorrow night. As far as their impact goes, like it's more about the guys that are injured and Oki and Rhodes. Those guys, Collins and Enos, will probably have an impact, but they don't necessarily like to sub their D line that much. So keep an eye if Ole Miss starts clicking, how tired that Arkansas defensive line could get.
This series has been a zoo. I mean, it's been up and down. You could date back to Hugh Freeze and Burt Belima, all the back to the Hunter Heave. I mean, this thing has had everything. You can go back to 1990. I was on a show with Quinn Grovey earlier this week, and I talked about the 1990 game in which Quinn Grovey pitched it to Ron Dickerson Jr. I don't even know if you were born, and he was stopped at the 1 foot line in War Memorial. That was obviously pre SEC when they were in the. I guess they would have been in the the old Southwest Conference.
Southwest Conference.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I mean, this series has kind of seen it all. I expect full blown shenanigans at some point tomorrow. I have no idea what's going to happen. I think if you pin me down, I would pick Ole Miss 38-35 just because I think Ole Miss is going to score some points. I think Arkansas is going to score a lot of points. I know you've picked on your show. I'll allow you to pick here. But I'll say this. If you're not an Arkansas fan, you're not an Ole Miss fan, and you just like college football, I encourage you to tune in.
We got to remember 4 years ago, this was the best game of all of college football in 2021. That's not me saying it. That was ESPN ranking it. This series, when you think about those epic inclusions like you brought up, 1990, 2001, the OT game with Matt Jones and Eli Manning, the Hunter Henry game. Fast forward a year, Chad Kelly and company, that battle in Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium. Connor Lippert kicked a game winner. Ole Miss was up, like 2 or 3 touchdowns late, and Arkansas came back. And then you think about that 21 game that I referenced. Corral, Jefferson, back and forth, back and forth. The game 2 years ago, Jackson Dart didn't play well. Arkansas throws 2 picks, loses 27-20. The last game is the outlier in this series. Like you said, there'll be a lot of Arkansas and Ole Miss fans tuned in this game. But if you like college football, this is one of the best games of the weekend. I'm not an SEC homer. It's just a fact. And, Brad, I wanted to ask you this on this subject. I think Arkansas should push for Ole Miss to be a permanent opponent. 6.5 hours away.
Agreed.
It's regionally close. This is a game that both sides care and value, which is not always the case when Arkansas is featured. Is that the same with Ole Miss in your estimation?
Well, I mean, I think I've got a little bit of bias in this. I mean, I love Northwest Arkansas. I have family there. I love this game. I absolutely love it. And so I would love to speak into existence that Arkansas and Ole Miss are not only a permanent, but I would love it to be a rivalry. And I'm not going to get into it needs to be a trophy game and all that shenanigans. I'm just saying I want it to be a rivalry. And I think it is, but I want it to be something that is respected on both sides. My thoughts, not yours, not the media's in Arkansas, not the fan base. I think Arkansas feels like it's a much better program than Ole Miss. And here's the thing, I think that's probably true. But I wish it were more of a rivalry because of how well Ole Miss has done over the last couple of years. Make no mistake, Ole Miss hasn't won in Arkansas prior to last year until 2008 when it went up with Houston Nutt. So Arkansas kind of dominated Ole Miss in Fayetteville. Now, Ole Miss won in Little Rock. That was a road game for Ole Miss, but they had not won in Fayetteville. At the end of the day, I would love it to be a fixture. I love the game. And I think your average college football fan loves this game too. For whatever reason, the SEC is really pushing Arkansas and Missouri, and it just hasn't materialized, at least as far as I'm concerned. I think whenever the fans come into town, I think that, and I said this on another show I was on this week in Arkansas. I think there's a mutual respect between Arkansas fans and Ole Miss fans. Now, I think the Arkansas fans believe, once again, they have a better program overall. Ole Miss fans, I think it's more even than Arkansas fans do, and that's okay. I just wish it would be more of a fixture, and I agree with you.
So here's the thing about that, Brad. You're right. Arkansas fans, for the most part, do perceive them being better than Ole Miss, even though the series is 5-5 the last 10. It's like what 37-33. It's really close. I don't have the notes.
It's closer than you think.
Yeah. I think here's my thing, and I've lived in Arkansas my entire life. Went to school there. Obviously, a big fan. There is an arrogance that our fan base still has, and I get like you want to get back to where you used to be, but it's been 14 years since you mattered, like actually mattered in college football. 2011. That's the last time, and I know they had a good season in 2015. They had a good season with that epic battle in 2021. But I'm talking about like this team could impact a national championship type of year. You got to go back nearly a decade and a half. And so when Arkansas fans have that arrogance and that notion that they are better than Ole Miss, high school kids don't give a Baker's you-know-what about 15 years ago. They don't. They care about how's the NIL situation, how's the head coach, how is the fan base right now. And if you ask a kid in the South outside of Mississippi or Arkansas, and you say, young man, you've got two options. Where do you want to go to school between Ole Miss and Arkansas? That kid's saying Ole Miss 9 times out of 10, unless he's got some weird connection with Arkansas. And you know what, Brad? I don't blame him. So it drives me nuts. And listen, I get there's heritage, there's past, and holding on to that pride is important because you want to get back to that if you're an Arkansas point. But there's also just being, in my opinion, ridiculous and ignorant. And in the current state of where Ole Miss and Arkansas is, it's Ole Miss. And I know that series, Pittman's 3-2. Kiffin's up right now. It's been pretty close with the exception of last year. If Pittman wins, that's obviously something big for him. But you're 100% right. Arkansas fans still feel that way, and it ticks Ole Miss fans off. And honestly, they deserve to be ticked off because there's really nothing in it from a college football sphere. There's not a lot that Arkansas has in its back pocket that can put up what comparatively what Ole Miss outside of just the series record, which is 5-5.
He's Tye Richardson, does a great job, is a good friend. Right, he's over at ESPN Arkansas with Tommy Kraft. Great job at hitthatline.com. Kind enough to give us a few minutes. Tye, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great time in Oxford, and thanks for joining us.
Hopefully I'm making the press box tomorrow. We got a long day, long night tonight, Brad, so I'll see you in the morning.